Have you ever noticed how life repeats itself? The spiral of a shell, the branching of a tree, the rhythm of waves rolling onto the shore, the inhale and exhale of your own breath. Nothing in nature is random. It is patterned. It's structured, it's rhythmic, and it's alive. Hello and welcome to Mystic Artistry Podcast. This is Susan, and I'm so delighted you're here. The most beautiful part about nature not being random is that those same patterns exist in us. Today, I want to explore how repetition in nature, in the body, in art, and even in numbers can be a mirror that reflects our inner world, our cycles, and even our creativity. Look closely at nature. The Fibonacci spiral in a sunflower, the curl of a nautilus shell, the fractal branching of trees, the way rivers split and split again. These shapes are not just beautiful, they are efficient. They allow growth without collapse. Repetition in nature isn't redundancy, it's resilience. The spiral expands outward but remains connected to its center. Branches divide but still draw from the same trunk. Pattern creates coherence, intelligence. It's life remembering itself. And when we look at our own bodies, the patterns continue. Your lungs branch like trees. Your blood vessels mirror river systems. Your neural pathways resemble lightning and roots. Even your fingerprints spiral. We're not separate from nature's design. We are expressions of it, which may be why certain forms in art feel soothing. Mandalas, repetition in music, symmetry in architecture. We recognize the pattern because we are the pattern. In music, rhythm repeats. In poetry, refrains return. In visual art, motifs echo across a canvas. Repetition done organically regulates the nervous system. Predictable but not rigid. Structured but alive. And here's something tender. Trauma also repeats. Not because we are broken, but because the nervous system is trying to resolve what hasn't felt safe enough to complete. And when trauma repeats, it isn't because we're flawed or dramatic or attracting the wrong things. It's because the nervous system is patterned for survival. When something overwhelming happens, especially when we're young, the body doesn't get to complete the experience. It doesn't get to fight. It doesn't get to run. It doesn't get to fully grieve. So it stores the unfinished energy. And the nervous system, in its wisdom, keeps scanning for something that feels familiar. Not because familiar is good, but because familiar feels known. So we may find ourselves in relationships that echo old dynamics. We may feel activated by tones of voice that sound like long ago. We may overreact or underreact because the body remembers what the mind has tried to forget. Repetition isn't pathology. It's an attempt at resolution. It's the body saying, can we try this again? Can we finish this safely this time? Look at nature, we see patterns everywhere. Spirals in shells, veins in leaves, river deltas, the chambers of the heart. Patterns repeat not as mistakes, but as design. And maybe our emotional lives are no different. Maybe repetition is not a curse, but an invitation. An invitation to bring awareness to the pattern, to soften the nervous system, to interrupt it with something new, to choose differently, to create a new pathway. In art, when we repeat a line, a tone, a color, it becomes a motif. And a motif only transforms when we introduce variation. Healing may not be about erasing the pattern, but about adding a new note to it. Healing begins the moment repetition becomes conscious. So, have you seen numbers that repeat themselves? I've noticed repeating numbers for most of my life. 1111, 222, 555. For a long time, I wondered, is something trying to tell me something? Is this coming from behind the veil? And maybe it is, but what has felt more stabilizing, more empowering is this. What if repeating numbers are not instructions, but mirrors? When I see a repeating number, I pause. Instead of asking, what is the universe telling me to do? I ask, what is happening inside me right now? What was I thinking? What was I feeling? What cycle am I in? The number becomes a bell of awareness, a pattern interrupt, not authority, reflection. There is something sacred about pattern. There is a difference between unconscious repetition and conscious witnessing of repetition. When we notice numbers, shapes, or rhythms, we have a choice. Let them sweep us into automatic thinking or use them as a pause to reflect, create, and regulate. Repetition can be sacred. Repetition can be playful. Repetition can heal. Perhaps life is not commanding us. Perhaps is reflecting itself back to us. Spirals, branches, rhythms, numbers, they remind us that we are not separate. We are patterns unfolding. We are observers and creators. And when we learn to witness repetition, instead of being ruled by it, we come home to ourselves. We come home to the patterns that weave us together. And we remember life is not just happening to us, it is happening through us. And if this resonated with you, if something inside you recognized its own pattern in these words, I invite you to stay connected. You can subscribe to this podcast so these conversations continue to meet you wherever you are in that unfolding. And if you'd like to go deeper into art, into sound, into the nervous system and the sacred patterns that shape us, you can find all of my links, classes, and offerings on my website. My website is www.mysticartistry.org. Everything is there, waiting for you, and when you're ready. Because this work isn't about fixing yourself, it's about remembering yourself. And before we close, I want to leave you with this. The pattern that once protected you is not your prison. It was your brilliance. And now, gently, patiently, you get to weave something new. Until next time, stay curious about your patterns and be tender with the one who carries them. As always, I'm listening.